As I said at the top of the show, in my opinion, our next guest is the face of the brand new PFL, longtime veteran, former champion, UFC veteran, title contender. He's been around the block many a times, and he's going to be a part of their rebranding, if you will. Wanted to check in with Jake Shields, who's actually in New York right now training, which is very interesting. He joins us now on the phone. Jake, how are you?
Hey, doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You are in New York right now, right?
Yeah, I've lived out here for almost a year now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you live full time. Why did you make the move?
Yeah, I go back to California some still, but just for a change, I think for change, different training. I trained with the same. I mean, I had a great team, obviously, but trained with the same people for so long, and I know one of my camps right before I moved, I just Gil and Nate were hurt. Nick wasn't really around training. It was one of those times to get frustrated, not a lot of guys to train with, and decided to try some new things and get some new bodies. But I still go to California. I'm out there like 2 months training with the guys still.
And why did you choose New York?
I just like the city, a lot of energy. And then, like John Donaher out here, I was coming out training with him a little bit. Enzo Gracie, they're basically the same team as Caesar. So it wasn't like, joining a new team. It was just that we're already affiliated. So it made an easy move.
You strike me as a very California. I mean, I feel like you're so California. Was it a tough transition for you?
No, I mean, I plan on going back to California at some point, but I love the energy of New York. It's, just so much energy. There's all this stuff going on. I do miss, California. It's so easy to go out hiking and get outdoors. That's one thing that I don't like about Manhattan, but overall, I love it. Everyone always talks about, people being rude here, and I don't think so. They're just more like, more fast-paced themselves. Definitely not as polite, but to me, that's not really a problem.
It was really interesting when the pictures first surfaced of you training at Henzo's with Danaher and you were sitting right next to GSP. What was that like initially? Because of course you fought him. That was a massive fight for both you and the organization, for GSP as well. Initially, was that weird at all for you?
Actually, not really. It's really cool to train with GSP. For some guys, it would be because some of the guys you fight, you don't care for them much. But I've always had a lot of respect for GSP. I think he's felt the same. So right away, it was, he came in. I think the first time we trained, it was just it was like a snowstorm that day. So we came to the gym. It was only me, GSP, John, and like one other guy showed up. So it was pretty much just training with him for the full hour. So it was really cool getting to train with one of your former opponents and trying to help each other. And even went up, helped him a litlittle bit for training for Bisbee.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, I know you're very good friends with Nick, and they have their history. Did you ask him about it? Did you tell him about it? How did you handle that?
Yeah, that's one of those things. I mean, obviously Nick's not like thrilled about it, but I think he understands. If they were to, I don't think they'll fight again at this point. If for some reason they were, obviously I wouldn't train with GSP. But it's one of those things. I think they understand that it's, it's a sport. I'm here training with John, and GSP trains him, so it's just kind of how it ended up.
So you're in the PFL now, right? Your next fight will be for PFL.
Yeah, that starts. My first fight for them will be July 5th.
Okay, so you know your first fight. You know the day. You're part of the welterweight tournament.
Yeah, part of the welterweight tournament. So it's gonna be really interesting because once it kicks off, we have like 5 fights in 6 months. So it's really fast. So a big part of winning the tournament is staying healthy, getting through the fights, and staying in shape that long.
And do you know who you're fighting in the first fight for yourself?
Yeah, really interesting. I'm actually fighting Ray Cooper from Hawaii, which is a little strange. I fought his dad, I think, around 12 years ago. So makes me see how long I've been in the sport. I'm like, wait, I saw that name, like, oh, Ray Cooper first round. I'm like, Ray Cooper.
Oh
And I
my
looked it
God,
up.
yeah.
Oh, wow, that is the son of Ray Cooper. I didn't even know he was fighting, but he fights a lot like his dad. A really powerful puncher, strong guy. Not great jiu-jitsu, but not easy to take down. He's got knockout power in both hands, so he's a dangerous fighter.
That's unbelievable. July 9th, 2004. You beat his dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be his dad. July 4th, huh?
Yeah, yeah. You won the vacant Shooto welterweight title in Hawaii. What do you
Yeah.
remember about that night?
Yeah. Um, it was cool, winning the title, fight, and beating his dad. I mean, I used to love fighting in Hawaii. It was big in Hawaii, like before it was big on the mainland. So when you go out there, it'd be like, we treated like stars for a night, and it was good times.
Does this
So
make
it's
you feel
definitely
very
interesting
old?
going back and, yeah, a little bit. It's like, Jesus, I've been in the game a long time.
Damn, that is unbelievable. Wow. I know a lot, it has been a while. You haven't fought in quite some time. I mean, they initially wanted to rebrand and relaunch in January. It took some time. It will be almost exactly a year since your last fight. Once your fight in July happens, were you getting frustrated? How did you handle not making any money for a year?
Yeah, I mean, I was very frustrated, planning on, well, first off, luckily I have some money I put away and invested. So that's not really the issue. I mean, you always want to make money, of course, but luckily I'm not in a financial situation. But it's just, when we're supposed to fight in January and they moved it back, I was really frustrated. It hit a time where I was able to, a couple months ago, I became a free agent again. And I was able to talk to other shows, but luckily by that point, PFL was re-coming together, and I'm like, all right, looks like it's really going to happen. Now, we just went and had the meetings last week, and the show seems, they treat us really good, seem enthusiastic. It's like the same people, most same people from the World Series of Fighting, but they've definitely rebranded. They have more money. They're pushing it a lot more. I think they're paying, I think it's like $15 million in payouts for the first season. So it's not bad, especially because a lot of these guys are probably guys that weren't getting paid good. So it's exciting to have a new show that's going to put in some serious money and pushing out there.
So your contract actually expired in the midst of all this, and you were free to go out there and look for new offers.
Yeah, well, basically my contract kind of expired right towards when it became obvious that it was, because for a second, I wasn't sure. They've been saying, but wasn't 100% sure if it was going to happen. And then my contract kind of expired right as it looked like it was really going to happen. So it worked out a deal, got a signing bonus. I didn't really talk to too many people. Kind of right around when we can't. They made me good offers, so I just re-signed with them.
A lot of the mainstays, guys like Blagoy and Fitch, a lot of guys, it seems like maybe didn't want to wait around, got offers, whatever. Did you start to think, like, you've been around this game a long time, like once January came and went, February, were you thinking like, man, what's going on here? This might not pan out. I might like, were you starting to get worried?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely starting to have some doubts. That's why I was. That's why I started looking. I was stuck in contract, and you start looking around a little bit. But then we did a signing bonus. Once that check cleared, I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess it's paying decent checks. It's probably happening. And then you always had the meetings, and it's definitely happening now. You see these guys with some serious money, good production team, and hopefully they add some excitement to the sport.
How do you feel about the format? The I believe it's two fights, and then you have to go into this tournament, and you get points if you get X amount of finishes, different kind of finish, etc. As opposed to just like a straight fight, go in there, you move on with your life, you go to the next fight. Now you're kind of in this structure where you have to survive in advance and do certain things in order to get the most amount of points possible. You've been around this game a while. Do you like this, or would you prefer the old fashioned way?
Yeah. I mean, overall, I do. There's no politics. They have a very clear system of what you got to do. So, you fight. As long as you're winning, you move forwards. I think there is the point system by the finishes. But I'm pretty sure if you won both your fights, you'd almost for surely move on to the tournament and the season. The only thing that was a little weird to me is the first, because there's one night we have two fights in one night. And I guess you can only fight 5 rounds per night. So the first round is 2 10-minute rounds. They have a weird rule where if you have a draw, whoever wins the first round wins the fight, instead of judging as a whole fight. To me, that seems a little weird, but I mean, it's something everyone has to play by. So,
Wow.
but yeah, other than that, all the rules seem good to me.
Do you feel like you are all caught up? Because it does at times seem a little bit confusing. Do you feel like you have a good handle on everything?
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty clear. Basically, if you're winning
Okay.
your fights, you get
Yeah.
an extra point. In the first 2 rounds, if you win by like submission or a finish early on, you get extra points. But pretty much, if you win both your fights, you're gonna move on. So that's all I really worry about. And hopefully you'll finish your fight early. But as long as you're winning, you're moving forwards.
I know last year they had a lot of last week they had a lot of the fighters in to do, a bunch of shoots and things like that in preparation for the upcoming season. What's the vibe like around the company? I know you said a lot of same folks, but I know there's new folks as well. And it's a new name, new vision, new format. How would you describe the vibe?
I think everyone's pretty excited. I mean, they're pretty excited that it's finally launching. I know they've been working on it for a while. Ray and Carlos been spending a long time putting this together, and they definitely seemed excited. And the fighters all seemed excited. It's some pretty good paydays, especially some of these guys never had good paydays. You're looking at a chance to make $1 million in a matter of or over $1 million because you get paid in the regular season too. So it's a chance for these guys to make some serious money. I think everyone's pretty pumped up for it.
And again, like I said, not to belabor this point, but you have been around for quite some time. You've seen it all. You know every promoter under the sun. You know all of them that have come and went. The one thing that I keep hearing about PFL is, okay, those numbers sound great, but will they actually pay that much? How can they actually sustain this? Do you believe that when the season is over in December, they will actually be paying out that much? That's an incredible amount of money for a relatively young organization to pay out.
Yeah, no, I do. I think they have some big money backers. I think they threw, I'm not 100% with these numbers. I think someone said they threw around 30 million into the first season. And then has to be production, advertising, fighters pay. And I'm pretty sure they're already planning out the second season. So I think regardless of the first season does good or not, I think they're already planning a second season. So I think these are like, they're not some guys with a couple $1 million. These are like some real big money backers. I mean, of course, anything could happen. Like I was skeptical at first, I'm not going to lie. But at this point, it's looking like it's going to happen. They threw around some pretty good fighter pay in the first rounds too. Pretty good signing bonuses. So they definitely have some real money. And you can see the production crew is definitely up a notch. More people, so they're throwing money around at this point.
You debuted in 1999. That was your pro debut. You're 39. You've been doing this for almost 20 years now. Did you think when you started that you would still be doing this as you approach 40?
No, definitely not. I never planned to fight this long. I probably figured I would have retired by like 35. But originally I started, I didn't really know. I didn't think there was really a career out of it. There wasn't really any money at the time. Just luckily managed to turn it into a career. So yeah, at this point, I just take it one fight at a time. My body still feels good. I still enjoy the sport. I just took like a year off, so I was getting to do some grappling and focus in other places. So at this point, I'm gonna try to get through this tournament and then decide if I want to retire or fight. It's a tough call. If I go win the tournament, might just be a good time to step away and call it, but don't want to make any promises because you never know how I'm going to feel.
Of course, yeah.
And if it's the right fight, the right money. But yeah, I'm probably not going to do the tournament and then not fight unless it's good money.
But is that something that's on your mind? Is there a chance that this run right here could be your last?
Yeah, it's definitely a good chance. Like I said, I don't feel old, but when you're 39, you got to start looking and being like, you don't want to be that pushes it too long and starts getting hurt and getting beat up or just out there for the paydays. Because luckily, I'm not broke. I have investments and I have money coming in, so I'm not in a situation where I need to fight. Obviously, when you're looking at, oh yeah, I can fight and make almost another $1.5 million, real quick in 6 months. It's good money. I'm far from rich, so that's still good money to me. But I'm not like in a situation where I'm desperate.
And have you started to think what you'll do? I mean, since the end is somewhat near, what do you think you'll do when you're done?
I'll probably stay involved with the sport. Hopefully not in a situation where I need to actually work a real job, but probably help train guys and just I like to be around it and
Okay.
take a little more time for vacations and chill.
So you're not going to do
business things going as well.
okay. Anything that you could talk about?
They got medical. I got some marijuana stuff in California. It's not medical anymore, but it's company Bloom Farm. It's like vape pens, which that's getting really big out in California.
Okay. Wow. So okay, and of course we know that your friends are big proponents of that as well. By the way, do you think Nick will ever fight?
I think he will. Yeah, I think he'll fight again soon. I think he's missing it. He's been training a little bit, and I haven't been out there, so I don't know how much he's been training. But I'm pretty sure he's been at the gym a decent amount. And I would love to fight him again. I would love to see him fight again. I think he's still got some more in him. Hasn't been training as much, but he's still in good shape and can make a comeback fast.
Okay, so you would bet on him actually coming back. I get asked about him every day.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so do I.
Yeah,
Everyone really asks me. And Nick's, even though I'm close to Nick, he's a hard person to predict. That's people always. Only Nick really knows what he's going to do. People would always be asking, "What's Nick going to do?" Is he going to show at the press conference this stuff? And I'm like, man, I just can't tell you. Nick doesn't even tell people close to him. Sometimes he just kind of goes out and surprises everyone. So really, only Nick really knows what he's going to do. But if I had to guess, I would say he'll fight again.
What about Nate?
I think he'll fight again as well. He's been training, he still trains a lot. We're out there, I see him. He's pretty much trains every day. I know he wants to fight. He loves training. He's in there. He just wants to make sure it's a money fight, which you can't blame him. When he made those 2 Connor paydays, it's hard for him to step in unless it's a big fight. So I certainly would, I would hold out on him as well. But he's not just looking for Connor. He's just looking for a fight that makes sense. That's going to get him a big payday and a lot of hype.
I'd love to see him fight Eddie Alvarez. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's a good fight as well. It's hard to say if it sells that well, though. So I could see. Nate's certainly not afraid of anyone, and I personally would love to see that fight. But I'm not sure if it's going to sell great. So that would be something that Nate would have to think about. Tyrone Woodley and him, I know they were talking about putting something together at one point, and that would be really interesting. I think they were close to coming to terms of that, but just didn't quite work out.
How do you think he would? Obviously, I know he's your friend and everything, but the initial reaction was this is a bad style matchup for him. We saw the Benson Henderson fight when the wrestling has never been his forte. How do you think he would do against someone like Woodley?
I think think he'd actually do good because he has really good cardio. He has, and Woodley's got good striking, but I think he get tired. They keep the pressure on him. Woodley would probably be able to take him down, but the 5-round fight, if Nate's able to keep getting up, I think the later rounds he can start doing well. Obviously, have to be able to block the kicks and, take a few power shots. But I think range-wise, it's a good fight for him. I would actually rather see Nick and Woodley fight. That's one I really like to see.
Yes, and I know that's one that Tyron would like to see as well. By the way, did you know that the 8-year anniversary of the whole Nashville post-fight brawl with mayhem and everything was just a couple of days ago? Did that come across your timeline? Anyone?
I actually did because someone tagged me with a picture of that. It's like 8-year anniversary. I couldn't believe it'd been that long.
Isn't that crazy?
8 years already, huh? Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I would have guessed 5. I'm like, wow, it was 8 years.
What do you remember most from that whole scene?
I was the same night I beat Henderson, so it was I was excited for that huge win, and then that happened, and it was to us it wasn't a big deal. I don't think either Mayhem or our group. It was more just kind of thought it was kind of funny. Mayhem's a tough guy, he got beat up a little bit, but he took it well. We only the best friends, but at least the guy's tough. I'll give him that.
It's amazing that was the biggest hottest controversy. And now we're getting dollies being thrown through car windows. It's a whole different ball game these days.
Yeah, he stepped it up now.
Yes, very much so.
Game now.
Exactly. That's just like, oh yeah, no big deal. A little brawl after the fact, no big deal at all.
I don't know what I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have to do something exciting now.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, I've always wanted to ask you this, and I know you're not really, you're not really doing it, but on your Twitter, there's always like those weird headlines that come out from your Twitter account. Why are you a part of that? Could you explain that to me?
Well, some of the things I tweet are myself, and other things is like a news source I work through.
It's very clear what's your tweet and what's not your tweet.
Yeah, so it's just a news organization I work through. So,
and you do realize that it's a very polarizing organization, right? Like sometimes the headlines are misleading or not quite accurate. Have you heard these complaints at all?
Talk to them, get them to. I have, and I definitely thought of talking to the guy and get him to not send some of those tweets because I definitely don't like when they send things that that aren't the best or cause drama.
Yes, a lot of them are just a little bit, and you have a very good reputation in the sport, and I always wondered why you would, if you were even aware.
Much. I guess I should check them a little better because I'm not on there very much.
Yes,
I start checking them better.
A piece of advice: check them out a little.
But yeah. All right, I'll start reading my Twitter.
Okay, good. So
I do tweet occasionally, but it's not that much.
No, I know, and again, it's very clear when it's your tweet. But sometimes the tweets are a little bit, off, and I figured.
Yeah, I definitely told him before to make sure not to do that type of stuff, but apparently I didn't listen. So one time I mentioned that. I saw a tweet I didn't like. I told him be careful type of stuff, but I guess he's I'll go look through the timeline.
Okay, cool. Well, it's good to have you back. July 5th, you said, and do you know where that fight is going to be?
Yeah, Washington D.C.
Okay, great. So July 5th in Washington, which I know is kind of the backyard for a lot of the investors for PFL, and you're fighting Ray Cooper's son. How about that? 14 years later? That's. I wonder if Ray Sr. is going to be in his corner. Do you know if he corners him?
I don't, but I would say a good chance. I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
Yeah, and who will be in your corner, considering you now are living in New York?
I haven't figured that out yet. I'll probably bring at least one or two of the guys back. In from San Francisco. I don't know, possibly John, or maybe my kickboxing coach here. I got to figure that out still. Okay. I have a bunch of people interested in corner me, but only so many spots. So I got to figure that out.
All right, and will you be the main event for that card?
I have no idea. I don't think they've announced the card yet, so I'm not really sure.
All right. Well, I wish you the best. Great to have you back. I'm happy that you're happy with PFL, and you're obviously, in my opinion, you're the face of the organization right now. You're the most recognizable face, that's for sure. And welcome to New York. I didn't know that you lived here. We'd love to have you in studio.
Yeah, you live here as well, right?
Yep, that's right. And we're
just came into the studio. Would have looked better.
I know. Next time for sure. Thank you, Jake. Great to catch up with you. All the best with the tournament and the fight on July 5th.
Great, thank you.
All right, there he is, Jake Shields, one of the veterans of this sport, still going strong.